This is CBS News Bay Area with Juliette Goodrich.
Hello, we want to start with breaking news in Contra Costa County, where a hazmat scare is forcing evacuations right now in San Pablo. Ann Makovic on the discovery in a backyard shed that has crews and neighbors so worried. Ann.
Yeah, because that shed belongs to a retired chemistry teacher. We just got an update. Firefighters say hundreds of boxes have been found with several hazardous chemicals inside. They have not said what exactly those chemicals are or if they even know for sure, but they say they're dangerous. Evacuations have been ordered for people in the area between Giant Highway, Minor Avenue, 11th Street, and Palmer Avenue in San Pablo, and those are mandatory evacuations. Firefighters say people could be kept away for up to 24 hours, and the evacuation area could expand. Firefighters and county health say the chemist homeowner is being cooperative, but it sounds like he had a bit of a haphazard storage operation there. They've been using a robot to try to figure out exactly what is in there and how dangerous this could be.
They all have been found in various containers at various stages of degradation, so they're very unstable. So we're trying to mitigate the situation at this point to make sure that they get disposed of safely.
So they're going to have to secure the chemicals before getting rid of them, and if they end up having to cart them through the neighborhood, they may have to expand that evacuation zone. Evacuees right now are being directed to a shelter that is set up at Contra Costa Community College Gym. That is on Mission Bell Drive, and the Red Cross is there to help. No word on what, if any, charges the chemist who owns these materials could end up facing.
Yeah, mysterious there. All right, Ann, thank you. Governor Newsom is calling in the cavalry to try to get a handle on crime in Oakland. 6 CHP officers and a sergeant are being deployed there to focus on sideshows, auto thefts, and freeway shootings. The governor also approved a $1.2 million loan for automated license plate readers. Meanwhile, we just learned off-duty Oakland police officers have been working security for PG&E crews. The utility started contracting with the officers in November after some of their crews were robbed at gunpoint.
It's sad that we're in this situation. This should be a clarion call to city officials that we've got significant challenges around public safety in Oakland.
Oakland police say they are up to 8 off-duty officers assigned to PG&E crews each day. So that adds up to about $6,500 a day, which PG&E pays. Unclear at this point if ratepayers will end up footing that bill. Meanwhile, PG&E says it's significantly cutting back on tree trimming across Northern California. Instead, right now, they're focusing on auto shutoff technology for power lines hit by trees, as well as undergrounding lines. But for the countless victims of wildfires started by downed PG&E power lines, it's pretty alarming to hear.
Well, PG&E will always do what PG&E does, and it's all about the bottom line for them. It's all about keeping their shareholders happy, keeping the hedge funds happy, and it's never been about the fire victims.
And the Utility Reform Network says whatever the reason, scaling back on tree trimming is not the right way to go.
The problem with that is that it is the slowest and most expensive way to prevent wildfire. The faster, safer, and cheaper way to prevent wildfires is to insulate the overhead power lines. That can be done in a quarter of the time at the quarter of the cost.
PG&E insists their new approach will be more successful and cost-effective, pointing to a 68% reduction in ignition areas where those new update circuits are already installed. So they're likely not the first group that comes to mind when you think of housing insecurity, but this is the Bay Area, and this is a group of frontline doctors at Stanford that tell our Max Darrow they're struggling to afford even basic necessities as they work up to 80-hour weeks.
When he's not working long hours, Dr. Ivan Mayer is either studying up.
In medicine, you never stop learning.
Or often tidying up. He's a third-year resident physician at Stanford Hospital, a husband, and a dad.
The experience of being a father and being a resident is actually intertwined with me entirely. I've never been one without the other.
He takes pride in both roles. Neither are easy jobs, and he knew that going into them both. But what he didn't quite comprehend was how deep of a financial hole he'd find himself in working as a young doctor at one of the nation's premier hospitals.
I had to take out a $30,000 loan in addition to my over $100,000 in debt from medical school just to survive that first year of residency. In order to pay for rent, in order to pay for food, and just to make ends meet.
After having their child, Mayor's wife had to stay home for medical reasons for a while, making him the sole earner in their household.
We were $300 away from qualifying for food stamps as a doctor, and you wouldn't really think that would be the case, but that's how close we were.
Their saving grace, he says, was his wife getting a job in tech.
And sometimes I feel like luck was on our side, but not everyone can be as lucky as we were.
Fair contract now!
So he and hundreds of other Stanford healthcare resident physicians and fellows represented by the Committee of Interns and Residents are trying to change that reality. They recently came together for a march on the hospital, a unity break. It wasn't a strike or a work stoppage. It's a union strategy commonly used during negotiations to draw attention to the bargaining process. The physicians are demanding better pay and better benefits as many are drowning in debt and struggling to make ends meet.
Stanford makes hundreds of millions of dollars in profits every year, and it's unimaginable that what we're asking for is unreasonable.
As of mid-July, there have been 14 bargaining sessions with 9 tentative agreements, according to a Stanford healthcare spokesperson. However, Mayor and colleagues feel that Stanford has not bargained in good faith.
They've been stalling a lot. They've been withholding information. The most recent package that they offered actually offered to take away benefits that we already have.
We requested an interview with a representative from Stanford Healthcare. They provided us with a statement, reading in part, "Throughout negotiations, we continue to reinforce our commitment on a number of important topics, from prioritizing highly competitive wages and benefits to ensuring the safety of our house staff if they are too fatigued to drive home at the end of their shift."
You know, I understand that our demands may not necessarily be met, but at the same time, like, meet us halfway, like, come in good faith. That's all I would ask.
Mayor says the less focused the resident physicians are on making ends meet, the more focused they can be on their patients in their time of need.
According to a union spokesperson, the next bargaining session is tomorrow afternoon. Now on to a tale of 2 restaurants in San Jose, both feeling the impact of tech workers staying away from downtown. Devin Feely shows us it all comes down to location.
We have talked a lot about what a post-pandemic recovery would look like, especially for downtown areas. Now, downtown San Jose is struggling much like San Francisco. The reality is fewer people are coming to downtown San Jose to work Monday through Friday, and there is the ever-widening fallout for the businesses that have always counted on that foot traffic. For Cafe Eden in downtown San Jose, the pandemic took a big bite out of their business, and the post-pandemic recovery has been anything but paradise.
The traffic coming back into downtown have not really revived yet.
Office vacancy rates in downtown San Jose are at historic highs, nearly 30% in the second quarter of this year, according to Cushman & Wakefield. And the problem is even more pronounced in the area near the airport, where the vacancy rate is a jaw-dropping 42%.
A lot of companies are not fully staffed here. Around us, we have few buildings that are vacant, unoccupied, and the foot traffic in the city is a lot less than before.
Russell Hancock, CEO of joint venture Silicon Valley, says while cities have been scrambling to find ways to lure businesses and business people back downtown, it seems increasingly likely that the work-from-home trend is here to stay.
Downtowns right now are asking, well, how can we get our workers back, and how can we recover our downtowns that way? That's probably the wrong question. Downtowns probably need to be saying, given our new realities, what should our strategy be to reshape this downtown, reinvent it, make it something completely different?
That seemingly permanent shift to work from home may be to the detriment of businesses like Cafe Eden, but to the benefit of others like Jack Holder's, which is located further from the downtown core and closer to a neighborhood where people live and increasingly work.
We have had a lot of our regulars, continue to support us through the pandemic, through all the lockdowns, and really be excited after the lockdowns that they can come and support us after.
Back at Cafe Eden, they're just trying to hold on, struggling in the absence of that all-important ingredient to any successful business, customers.
We have to see where the future is going to take us. We don't know yet.
So there's a lot of uncertainty.
Yes, there's a lot of uncertainty in the business, yes.
There is still a sense of optimism, however tenuous amongst the businesses that we spoke to, but many of them say they can't look too far into the future, months or years. They say that their success is measured on a weekly and sometimes on a daily basis.
Coming up, new at 7.
Welcome to the presidential suite.
100 years ago this moment, a U.S. president was dying in San Francisco. We will take you to the room where it happened and tell you how much it costs now to stay there. And the unique canvas being used to show off Latino pride and culture in the South Bay.
Speaking of the South Bay, here's a live look out over San Jose. Still blue skies overhead. The temperatures only reached the upper 70s this afternoon. Below average temperatures one more day, and then a warm up inland as we head into the weekend. Details coming up in the First Alert forecast.